Hi, my name is Sam, and I'm the fastest climber in the world.
My name's Albert Oak, his coach.
Since the theater wouldn't let me bring in a wall to climb for you, this is what I do.
Ready? That's Sam. Come on, Sam. Let's go, dude. Woo!
I do.
It's pretty slow, I know.
The wall is 15 meters, or about 50 foot for the Americans, and I raced others all around the globe. This is the story of how I became the fastest.
It's a story about Olympic dreams, big ideas, and being creative to achieve the impossible.
And how we realized that embracing the characteristics that made us most human made the difference.
And what better way to show our human perspective than to talk about the time that I was almost kidnapped? I was headed to the competition venue to coach Sam, as well as some of the other Olympic athletes I coach, when the bus was running a little bit late. I don't want to instill a lot of drama, but let's just say I ended up having to take the wrong taxi, and I almost got kidnapped, but this time no Liam Neeson taking part 4 to bail me out.
Afterward, Albert and I met up outside the village. I was overwhelmed. The training session did not go well, and to add to that, there was a large number of fans, way more than I had ever dealt with, asking for pins and autographs. I had just graduated high school not even 6 months prior, and now had the weight of 500 million people ready to watch me climb. As I vented my feelings, feeling like not much progress was really being made, out of the blue, Albert said,
Hey, by the way, I almost got kidnapped.
I knew this probably wasn't true, and it was just one of his tactics to get my mind off things. But it was working. As he explained this story, and I was working to dispute how there was no way he actually got kidnapped, my mind moved away from that place of stress and back into a place where I could be myself and succeed as an athlete.
For a moment there, I was just telling a friend about a scary scenario that I was in, almost a movie plot, and our labels were gone.
We were just two guys talking about a scary situation while random people were trying to hustle us.
And that's sort of the first thing I want you to understand. Sam isn't some flawless superhuman, and I'm not just the coach with all the answers. One of us, sure, can climb up a wall faster than anyone else in the world, but it's about our process and how we made the leap forward to accomplish the impossible.
Now, what you can learn from that isn't that if you believe in yourself, you can do anything. But the first step is to be 100% on your own side.
In the world of sports, often the human limit is well studied and defined. Speed climbing, being less than about 20 years old, left us completely in the dark. The only advice we could have were from veterans who basically told us that what the times we were trying to accomplish was impossible. However, I knew and believed that through creativity and ingenuity that we could accomplish the impossible, and make it possible while not being constrained to the current training ideas.
The world watches the Summer Olympics for 2 weeks out of every 4 years, but there's a lot more that goes on into that. We plan out years worth of training. Then every workout, every meal, and even going to bed on time years in advance can make the difference. But for speed climbing, which was essentially brand new on the Olympic stage, there was one more thing: breaking down the standard route.
It was important for us to be resourceful. We needed to find ways to train despite the limitations. We don't come from a federation pumping millions of dollars into our athletes. In fact, we've been training at a commercial gym this entire time. I am working a 40-hour-a-week job, and while we're training at the commercial gym, sometimes members are complaining about us being too fast and too loud, or our buzzer going off, a little bit distracting for them. I am never above having to power wash the holds myself. Sometimes when the holds get dirty, I force him to brush the holds as well. And when he forgets his bag, he's not above wearing rental shoes.
Okay, that really happened. I was 17 years old and I made a dumb mistake. I left all my climbing gear at another gym. The next day, when the US team was having a mock competition, Albert picked me up to take me to the gym. I informed him on the issue. I said, could you take me to get the bag? It was 15 minutes away and in the same direction. And he said,
That's tough. Here's some rental shoes.
I thought he was joking. Like, who would do that? Any other coach, parent, or mentor would just suck it up, get the bag, maybe get a little upset. Not Albert.
See, the problem is he didn't have a car. And at a competition, if something like this happened, he also wouldn't have a car.
After the snarkiest "are you serious" of all time, we went to the gym. He dropped me off, and I assume he went to go get the bag. I warmed up, and about an hour later, he showed up with bread from a bakery that's not even close to where we were. I was annoyed, angry at his antics, but at the end of the day, I still wanted to climb well. I had my rental shoes, and I wasn't letting it be an excuse.
I'm a big fan of watching body language, and Sam's body language noticeably shifted in every competition from here on out. I think making him being forced to have this challenge allowed him to unlock a new gear. I wanted him to realize that although he made a mistake, that he could still succeed. During the camp, he still put up one of the fastest times he's ever put up.
After a good enough day, I decided I could forgive and forget. I told Albert, and we debriefed, and he talked about how he was proud of me for overcoming this logistical adversity, and he said that I took accountability for my mistake and made progress as an athlete that day.
I know he was really mad, and he wouldn't even make eye contact at me. But that's sort of one of the things that a lot of coaches don't understand. Making an athlete successful isn't this sort of input-output type thing. It's about making your athlete learn how to overcome obstacles and hurdles, and it's often more important to do this rather than run in a straight line as fast as you can, or in Sam's case, up a wall.
Another thing that makes our relationship work is that even though we want each other to succeed, deep down, a tiny part of us wants each other to fail. And not in the way of a bad competition or getting injured, but there's a lot of times when Albert will say something along the lines of, "You can't do as well today because you're tired, or you've been traveling, or whatever reason." And then I set out to prove Albert, who's someone I greatly respect the intelligence of, wrong. Because who is he to tell me that I can't do as well that day?
And it's good when Sam does this, because on the days where he's traveled or a little tired, it's okay for him to have these excuses. Sure, statistically, when you look at it, he either outperforms his own expectations or he doesn't. And that allows him to be a little bit more human and accept his own flaws. It builds this synergy where it also builds courage and confidence and allows him to succeed as an athlete. It also keeps his arrogance in check.
But even with the best coaching and mentorship I could ever ask for, my goals were still difficult. I wanted to win the Olympics and become the best in the world. We needed to find some more advantages.
From a technical standpoint, the speed climbing route is very complicated. There are 31 holds, 20 hand holds, and 11 foot holds, which you can grab and place in an infinite number of combinations. Solving it was key. And we realized that a lot of the athletes we were going up against were a little bit weaker in certain sections. In fact, in the top section where Sam excelled, we realized he could skip few holds that other athletes weren't able to do. We spent months perfecting a single move going to the buzzer to give us that much of an advantage. There was also one loophole. In typical events in track and field, you often have the sprinters standing still, not moving, until you hear the gunshot. However, in speed climbing, because we rely on a pressure pad, I had Sam place his foot on the pressure pad and stand still. Then as the beeps began, he would start generating momentum while keeping his foot on the ground. This was an exploit to give us a little bit of an edge, and each point one mattered to us. It was crucial to find these advantages.
Although the technical aspect was complicated, competition is actually a quite simple process. All that you're doing is trying to execute to the best of your ability on your previous preparation. And that preparation led us to the Olympic finals. In my first race in the bracket round, I won, advancing to the next round where it was the most important race of my life, allowing me to compete for an Olympic gold medal. In that race, I did my process one more time. I executed, and my foot slipped. I had just lost the most important race of my life.
A quote we define this season by is from a chess player we both study, David Bronstein, where he says the most powerful weapon in chess is to have the next move. And if there's anything to take from this, it's to understand to take the next move. It didn't matter what challenges or obstacles we were faced during this journey. It mattered at this moment that we make the next move.
With no time to process, the second most important race of my life now faced me. I texted Albert 2 simple words: I'm ready. I stepped back out to the field of play, and I believe I did just that. Made the next move. Facing one of my childhood heroes and former world record holder, Reza Alipour, I did my process one last time. I ran a new world record of 4.74 seconds and forever cemented myself as an Olympic medalist. The emotions were incomprehensible.
When I looked up at the screen and saw the final time, I began to cry. I cried out of joy. I cried out of happiness. I cried because for the past year and a half, every challenge we faced was summarized in 4.74 beautiful seconds. I was no longer a coach. I was merely a friend watching a beautiful accomplishment.
After the podium ceremony, a long press tour, and trying to pee in a cup as fast as I possible for anti-doping, I walked back to the warm-up area to get my bag, but it was locked. As I watched the once electric venue empty out, walking around, stranded, I turned around and saw my coach, who once forced me to climb in rental shoes, standing there with my bag.
It was my way that at the end of the day, whether I'm forcing him to wear rental shoes or spending 30 minutes with a Secret Service agent to find his bag, that I always wanted the best for him, to always challenge and to service.
The next day, Albert and I got to give a speech talking about our unique journey as he was honored as an Olympic medalist. That greatly inspired us to do this talk and share our story with you guys.
There are no walls that are unscalable. It's about being creative, and it's being smart, and despite the challenges you face, making the next move. So build the human relationships in your life to achieve your own records.
So why not be that person that proves to everyone else that yes, it is possible? I'm 19 years old, and I have a lot of climbing ahead of me. I believe that this perspective and our dynamic can take me to gold at the next Olympics and well beyond.
Well, Sam, I'll see you at the LA practice wall. I promise I won't almost get kidnapped this time.